app can do that. And then once you build and go, then of course that launches the simulator. And on this example, it's actually the native app running, and you can actually then connect to the same data source. On the Android app, this is not yet available in public, but we're actually going to release this soon. So this actually has the Android version of an RIT, so this is the Rochester Institute of Technology that we're working with. So again, similar to what we were looking at earlier with the iPhone app, you can change the property value there and then change it to the m.rt. You point to that, and of course RIT has its own set of colors and themes and so forth, and then you can again publish the Android app from this. Now, so for some of the developers out there, they're again making a lot of contributions, and some of the things that we are thankful is folks like I think there's an Adam Franco from Middlebury College, and he's actually helped us a lot with the CAS authentication, and you can actually see the pull request. If you go to the GitHub site, this is actually publicly available information. So on the GitHub site, you can check the pull requests. So the concept of a pull is so there's a main trunk of Kurogo code, and other developers want to make the contributions. So they say, okay, I have this new version or the new improvements, and we just pull it down and then merge to our code basically. But of course, we have to be careful. Right? We're not going to pull everybody's request. We need to make sure that it's done correctly and tested and all that stuff. So that's the role that then our developers at Moto Labs is playing. But nonetheless, we're working with the community to actually create the additional improvements onto the platform. So we have a few minutes left, but I just wanted to kind of quickly give you the future roadmap. So we're working on the hybrid app for Kurogo. So that's where you're actually creating the mobile web version, similar to what I mentioned earlier, and then taking advantage of that directly to create a native app component very quickly. Additional support for HTML5, developer tools, and those are things that I think are coming down the pipeline. And of course, constantly adding new back-end integration. So that's actually coming soon, as always. So this is an example of what we mean by our version of the hybrid app is that we are, unlike some of the other ones out there, which essentially try to provide the same user interface to every single device platform, sometimes in a very unnatural way. What we're really doing is taking advantage of what is fully baked native app and adding to that some of the components that the users are generating for the mobile web. So what you're looking at here on the left-hand side is the mobile web version of the news module. What you're looking at in the middle one, that's the native, in this case, iOS version. What you're looking on the right is a combination of the two. Now the difference is that on the native side, as you could imagine, here's actually a little scrolling. But this one actually, you can actually scroll this headline by using your finger gesture. And you could actually program some of the other components, but usually they take a lot of knowledge of the iOS or the Android to do that. But on the other hand, for mobile web, somebody's already made this. Then just quickly translating that and still retaining some of the native user elements, then still providing the native option so that they can very quickly do that. So that's the goal. So we will continue to invest our effort onto the native side, but for the opportunities where you can very quickly convert a mobile web code, an HTML5 code, into the native, we'll do that. So one last thing I wanted to share was, what is Kurogo, or where did the name come from? So we, our developers, actually we brainstormed a lot, and we picked this particular term that was very appealing. It's a Japanese word. Kuro is black, Go is clothed, and it's basically a stagehand in a Japanese kabuki theater. And so we actually found this video online, and this is actually you may or may not be able to see that there are people wearing black clothes in the background. And what they're doing is really helping these actors shine. So let me play this video and you can actually see this.
这个很经典。现在开始真好笑。
So anyway, that's the genesis of the name Kurogo, and hopefully Kurogo can help other developers, perhaps including some of you, and other universities, other enterprise companies, to come up with really great mobile solutions. Thank you very much for your time, and take some questions.
所以现在这个 section 大家有没有什么问题？我们还有5分钟的时间可以发问。对。
他讲太细节。
有吗 ？OK。
I want to ask, is that they had a templating engine there, right?
Yes.
And what is the templating engine you were using?
It's called Smarty.
Smart?
Yeah, SMART.
Smart.
Yeah. If you go to the Kurogo document, the website, and I'll just share that with you here. Smarty templating engine is available as it's also another open source project. And again, this is a great thing about open source. And I think we'll find the right thing. It's actually smarty.net, and you can actually get the information about the other components that we are also using for Kurogo.
Hi, Andrew. I'm very impressive about the achievement of Kurogo. And I'm wondering, do you have any case study of the enterprise using the Kurogo platform? For example, they integrate with the ERP or supply chain or any other software. Thanks.
So I didn't talk about the enterprise too much in this presentation, but we do have some big financial services companies, as well as hospitals, and I think more recently a pharmaceutical company using the platform. And so we have not yet released any of the ERP connectors. But we are definitely working on things like PeopleSoft backend, and then SAP, and I think some of the community members are also working on some of the other ones that you may or may not be using. But I think the idea behind this is that we'll continue to evolve the platform, and some of those will naturally come out of the community, but also you can actually build those connectors too. Where we can work together to build those connectors. So, and I think more and more we're getting requests from those people who have those particular type of challenges, and so there's opportunities there.
对对对，因为它这个是整个密度位的配置。
请问一下那个 Kurogo 有没有支援 XAMPP？ XMPP 它的协议 XMPP。
You said for the messaging? Yeah. There's no immediate, there's nothing built in yet to do the SMPP, but that's something that we can build. And in fact, with the MIT's original code, we had other types of, the SNS was actually integrated as well. So we can do, that type of messaging plugins, and we've also seen other carriers doing stuff with Kurogo that actually integrates to some of the other messaging type of services. So it should be possible, and depending on the use case, it should be possible to actually integrate that, especially on the native side. There is support for things like push notifications, for the iOS. There's also support for the the Android push services or something like that. And so it should be possible. Yeah.
Wonder if Kurogo used a database to store configuration, and how do Kurogo deal with low latency problem? If many people want to access this platform, though if we only have one server, we can deal with. Yeah. So how do Kurogo deal with low latency?
Right. So I don't want to answer the question. I will try to get back to you with a very technically accurate answer. If you could actually give us your information. But I know that we actually have been working on scaling the Kurogo. So there's now multi-tenancy. That's actually as of 1.3. And there's also, because we are actually getting a lot of traffic for some popular universities like Harvard, actually has a fairly good amount of traffic, where we think that it can actually handle most of the requirements, with the exception of things like the media companies. So we were actually talking to a media company. They said, oh, if there's a big news and the traffic spikes, and so of course in the universities and enterprise that really doesn't happen. So there is some scalability there built into this Kurogo. And then what was your first question again? Where to store the data configuration?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think technically the config.ini files, actually the text files, are currently storing the type of data. But we also do have support for, I think, either SQLite or MySQL. Again, I'll have to get back to you on that because things do change from different versions. But we do have the database, the capabilities built into the Kurogo.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, again for your sharing. And it's 12 o'clock, so our lunch are at 4th floor. Yeah. 我们的午餐呢在4楼的教育厅里面。那怎么走呢？就是大概出门口之后左转，然后点心的那一条之后走到底，然后在右手边的楼梯往上走。里面那个会议室，里面那个教育厅就是我们的午餐用餐地点。对，那下午的议程是在1点半开始，那大家到时候请准时入场，谢谢。
Thank you.
可是我怎么觉得它看起来比较像那个有一个 T 什么那一种的照片部落格的感觉，因为其实看起来不是，就是就层面上面来讲，它的东西，它这个好像没有包这么多。
它的比较偏校园的那种。
对啊，可是它这个是其实它包到后面 ERP 什么都包了。